Everybody, thank you for attending. I'm glad I was allowed to present here for the library presentation series. My name is Jaime Reborn. I am a student at the University of North Texas, and I am working on my doctorate in learning technologies. And this presentation is a part of the requirements to complete my portfolio. And then I will present my portfolio to my committee at a later date. My topic is going to be over the use of artificial intelligence in education. It's a topic that is related to my degree and my dissertation. My dissertation is going to be about the use of artificial intelligence in setting up an extraterrestrial learning environment. Okay, all right. So, artificial intelligence, what is it? Merriam-Webster defines artificial intelligence as the branch of computer science dealing with the simulation of behavior in computers. Now, this is kind of a modern definition and kind of a textbook definition. There are other definitions of AI. Basically, my definition is artificial intelligence is something that can simulate interaction with a human being so that a human being can interact with a non-human and communicate or get a task accomplished. Now, artificial intelligence from a historical standpoint, human beings have always been, for some reason, fascinated by artificial intelligence. Now, I wrote Hephaestus Robots, or Hephaestus Golden Robots. It's a story about Hephaestus building some metal machine. These are Greek stories, but actually the term robot wasn't used until much later, so I should have changed that, but I'm neither there now. And Pygmalion and Galatea. If you don't know those terms, you've seen the influence of Pygmalion and Galatea in lots of contemporary movies and books and plays, and I'll get to that a little bit later. But Pygmalion was depending on which version you read, he was a man who built a woman. He was a sculptor, so he built a woman sculpture, and then he fell in love with the sculpture, and it came alive. And that story has permeated throughout history. So you've seen it in, the movie My Fair Lady, which was based on the play Pygmalion. There's a movie called Her with Joaquin Phoenix, Simone with Al Pacino. Ex Machina was a real popular film. So a lot of these films trace their history back to the same stories that we've been talking about with artificial intelligence and popular culture for many, many centuries. A lot of these go back. Now, and then of course you have like the new stuff, like The Matrix kind of took it up to a new level. Okay, so AI programming concepts. Once we went from just talking about it to actually trying to use it, that was a game changer. So Gottfried Leibniz, he basically wrote about the concept of being able to take ideas from humans and put them into machines. But it was just a concept, some people thought he was kind of crazy. Charles Babbage, in the 19th century, the English government asked him to work on a machine called the difference engine. And they paid him a lot of money to work on it. And it was a big calculator, and it was a big step forward in technology. Now, Babbage and the government, they ran into some problems, and Babbage started working on the analytical engine, which used punch cards, and the punch cards could actually program the machine, it could store information. And so Babbage never quite finished a good model of the, let me go back, sorry. Back to that one. Babbage didn't quite finish a good working model of the difference engine, and somebody else did perfect it years later. Now, the big part of this is that the government got involved. And so when the government got involved, that standardized some of the, the tools and materials that were needed to use it. But Babbage went on to get his bigger fame from the analytical engine. Ada Lovelace, she, the daughter of Lord Byron, she was also a mathematician. She came up with some ideas to program the analytical engine. Now, she's considered the first programmer, even though she didn't actually write a conventional program like we see today, because she wasn't actually working on a real analytical engine. She just came up with ideas for it, but it stuck. And so that helped to push computer technology forward a great deal. Now, Alan Turing, this is in the 20th century. Alan Turing he was responsible for coming up with a way to test how valid an AI technology was. Okay, so that's some of the history and how AI evolved. Now, the evolution of computers themselves. So, most modern computers that we consider modern started out using machine language, just zeros and ones. Everything had to be programmed in binary code, zeros and ones, so that the computer could understand them. Now, and people use a lot of, we use punch cards back in those days, and punch cards have been around for a couple hundred years. Now, we got to assembly language. Assembly language is where we use alphanumeric terms, letters and numbers, to program computers. Now we are using high-level languages, and where you can actually type in English or other languages and get the computer to understand you. So we've come a long way. And it is this evolution of the languages which has helped move AI forward to where we are now. In 2016, there was a professor, Dr. Gold. He decided to use an AI modeled after IBM Watson, the one you see all the commercials for. And it did fairly well. A lot of the students didn't know that it was actually an AI, but some of them guessed. He recorded all the information, and some guessed maybe it was, Jill was usually pretty efficient in answering questions, had some trouble trying to, like when people rephrase things, didn't quite come across. Now, but the issue here, after this started permeating through the academic community, and there was a concern about the ethics of using AI in education. Should we have AI teaching students? Some people may have a problem with that. Can an AI actually replace a human instructor? I don't think so, but that's my school of thought. But we are having more and more online classes in school. There are a lot more programs now that are being developed because we have a lot more non-traditional classrooms today than we did just a few years ago. And should AI be used to simulate human behavior? So this one here is not just about education, but if you think about it, in popular culture, which is why I gave you the history of what we've seen in the past, a lot of us think in terms of AI from a standpoint of the AI simulating human behavior. But is that what we really want? Do you want your computer to have an attitude with you? Do you want your computer to say, I'm not working today because, you bought another computer? Let me go back. So that is an issue that we should consider. With AI, we have to make sure that our proverbial reach does not exceed our grasp. So now, possible uses for AI in education. One of the obvious things would be like automatic grading of papers. Now, that's already going on and it's improving. I've taught for a number of years, and a lot of, you take the test online, and they'll send you back the grade, and it'll tabulate the student's grade for you. The detection of trends Like if there is a software or if there is a certain behavior that's going on with the students, the computer can calculate that information and give you back data based on trends that you can use to go forward. Like if a certain software is working properly or people aren't using that software. You know, if a student is doing poorly on a certain test. Tutoring, AI tutoring, we are getting to a point where like chatbots are, you know, programs that you can talk back and forth to. You ask a chatbot a question and it'll give you a pre-programmed answer that it can adjust and modify. These are getting very, very common. Sometimes, anybody ever seen these on the websites that you go to? Sometimes they'll be talking to you, you ask a question. Well, they're getting better and better and better. And that's kind of what Jill was. It's kind of what Jill Watson was. But again, in the back to the Jill Watson thing, none of the students knew that Jill Watson was an AI. And in that case, so some of the students were saying, hey, I'm paying money to be assisted by people, and you give me this AI. So that was a problem. VR simulation. AIs can help with VR simulation, virtual reality simulations, where you don't have to actually be somewhere to learn something. Like you have virtual, not just virtual classrooms, but you can have virtual surgeries. You know, virtual tours in history, like you can go back in time and see how Washington, D.C. looked in the 1800s. And research assistance. An AI can cross-reference a lot of information, and already we've had like spell checkers and stuff like that. But a research assistant can help a great deal, and AI is being used to do that because an AI may catch a whole lot of issues that human beings will not. Sometimes you go through a paper that you typed and you just missed up, but the AI and then like. We have like programs in college called like Turnitin, where it checks for plagiarism, where when you turn your paper in to make sure that it doesn't look like somebody else's or isn't somebody else's. So there's more and more of those that are coming. Now, AI efficiency and effectiveness. One of the things to remember, particularly in education, is that we're trying to get information across to students. So we can't focus so much on the technological goals of AI that we miss the human goals that we have for the students. So you can build an AI that may work exactly the way that you want. Like one example you see like is a call tree. When you call into a business or you call into a school and you start going through the call tree may work exactly like it's intended to work, but that doesn't mean you're going to like it. And so one of the things that is recommended here is that the people that are building and developing the AI, that they make sure that they solicit feedback from the students or whoever the end users are. Whoever the end users are, in this case students, teachers, and everybody that will be involved in the academic environment, you want to make sure that you're meeting their goals. It's not just for some programmer to design an AI to say, hey, I'm a great programmer because I designed the AI. It has to meet the goals of the students. And you see this a lot when you have administrators and sometimes teachers that they'll adopt technology. They'll adopt technology for the school or for the class that they haven't checked. It's just something that they like. And so sometimes that's not the best recipe for success. Okay, that is my presentation. Any questions?
Yeah, of course. So looking at the future of AI and looking at a lot of AI is being built into stuff that we utilize every day, and I say sneaky AI, like GPS and stuff like that. When you look at London having more cameras than people these days, and our airports doing the same thing, is there some point where there's a flip where most of our life is controlled by AI and AI is creating AI? Do you think we'll get there?
I think we're already in that process right now. And I think because it's subtle, we don't even think about it. Like, I'm old enough to remember when we didn't have the internet and people actually had to physically come to the library to do book reports. And so it is happening, but because human nature stays the same, technology changes, but human nature stays the same, we're not seeing it. But look at how we do banking. Look at how we do shopping. Look at how we do movies now. Now, right, in the next few years, it's going to probably, movies are probably going to be all coming into your house. And if you want to go out to a movie theater, it's going to be because you want to get out of the house. You know, so it's already happening to us right now. You have GPS in your car. I mean, I can't imagine not getting around without my GPS, but just a few years ago we had to. You know, we went all kinds of distances without that. So it is happening right now that this change in technology is happening, and we're being controlled by it. Yes, sir.
I guess statement of question, because you had mentioned ethics too, but I agree we're much farther along than people even realize, and economically the impacts are going to be pretty drastic on a large segment of the population, whether it's truck drivers or folks like that, or even in banking and markets where a lot of the stock picking are algorithms. And but what are your thoughts on getting ahead of the curve on ethics? You know, usually technology gets way out, and then we realize that there are issues, and we need to come up with some ethical considerations before. You know.
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, and let me take kind of a brief scenic route here. With the ethical situation, because I was saying like human nature doesn't change. Like the technology just gives us more of the ability to do what we want to do anyway. Because if you look at like, and me being an IT person and studying like historical wars, there's a lot of technology either used in war or developed for war. You know, that you see, you know, throughout the years, like in World War I, there was a German scientist. He won the Nobel Peace Prize a few years before, but he was German. And so they, when World War II came, World War I, he was drafted into their chemical warfare department. But what he had been making, what he got the Nobel Peace Prize for was a pesticide that would stop animals from eating the grain. But then they asked him to develop that for the war, and then later on, that was even made even worse, and it was used in World War II. So
like Turing too. I mean, they drafted him. The enigma was a military application.
Okay, right. And so with the
I guess looking at the internet, it was a military thing.
That's true. That's true. And so with the ethical concerns, one more stop I want to make on that is that, and I've been teaching for several years, and I've talked to my teachers at school. Grades haven't changed. Even with the internet that we have, right? I tell younger kids, like, you can go online and get all this information, and they still don't do it though. I mean, you still have deadlines missed, you know, for school. You still have work missed because the personality hasn't changed. You know, and so insofar as the ethics and what we can do with technology, I think that probably, and I think that there has been some talk that the government is going to create a commission to discuss the ethical concerns of AI. But I think that should be done, but I don't think it should be just government. I think that they should include people from cross sections of society, because the implications can be, could be very, very sweeping. And I don't think that, I think that, and the reason why I share the historical part of the AI conversation, because most of us are thinking in terms of TV and movies, and we're thinking in terms of like Skynet, you know, in 2001: Space Odyssey and controlling us. But we don't think every day like when my first year in this program, 2015, we have to go to a conference every year in the summertime. Well, we were in, they had like a tornado or storm or something up in Philadelphia, where we were outside New Jersey, we were having a conference. And we couldn't get our work done because we were so used to using the internet. And here we are, a whole bunch of people that are, you know, professionals and doctors, and we're all PhD students, but we couldn't get work done because we were so, attached to the internet. So it's, in a way, it's already happening. Just not in the Skynet form, but it's happening in other ways. So, yes, sir, go ahead.
2 questions. One, what keeps you up at night thinking about artificial intelligence? And then number 2, I attended a lecture given by the head of research for Exxon. And they analyze things electronically, drilling activity, all this kind of stuff. So the question was asked about what's going to be the impact of artificial intelligence on Exxon. And she said, well, we can give them data, we can analyze the data, but they're going to still make decisions on their own. So what do you think about those 2 issues? One, what keeps you up at night, and then should artificial intelligence be making decisions for humans?
Okay. First, what keeps me up at night is I learned as I got older, although some people wouldn't guess it, but I'm not the social animal that I wanted to be, or that I thought I was. And so I seem to be more in tune with, you know, computer technology and being able to get answers. I'm more of a scientist. There are sometimes you're dealing with people, and I've noticed over the years that sometimes people want an emotional answer. You know, and so I'm more of a scientist, and I don't necessarily meet that. You know, and like if you study certain people, let's say somebody's saying they lost their life fortune, and they're talking about how somebody ripped them off. When you talk to them and you say to them, mathematically, tell me what this person told you, it doesn't make any sense. You know, some of these guys, and they say, well, this guy asked me to get my money out of the bank, and he's going to give me 20% on an investment, and you ask him to break that down, it doesn't mesh. But then what those people usually do, though, is they get in tune with that person's emotional needs, and that's how they accomplish the, you know. And so for me, in talking to people, and even some of my students, I'm more analytical when sometimes the students want more of a different type of bedside manner. So that's me personally. What keeps me up at night is trying to develop tools that I can interact with, or other people can interact with, but I'm not one of those that wants the computer to be human. I don't want my AI to be human. And even though there's, you know, a lot of people working on that, I want my AI to not fail. Because here's the thing, if we want our AIs to be human, we got to program flaws into them. Because it's going to be human. I mean, like, you want your washing machine to work every time. You don't want, like, one day, like, oh, another washing machine's not going to work this time. You know, you don't want your car to be like, it's not going to work today, you know, but I'm okay with that. So you want them to work every time. I want my AI to work every time. I don't want it to be like a human, because humans are flawed, and we have to program flaws into technology. So, and the other part of your question was, I'm sorry.
Making decisions.
I think that wherever possible, humans should make the decisions. There might be certain things that are split second or whatever that we may have to have an AI for, but I think humans should ultimately make the decisions, because sometimes we do need empathy. You know, we do need that scientific decision, but sometimes we do need a human being to add that component. And here's why I say that. If you have the AI making the complete decision, it doesn't necessarily meet the customer service goals. Like, let's say in a business, you know, you have an AI that is designed technically to meet all of the statistical reasoning and all this stuff, but your people don't like it. You know, so if you want to do business, right? If you're trying to do business with a customer, you can have the best AI in the world. But if the customers are like, man, I'm not using that, you know, and so humans have to also play a role in that, in facilitating those needs to the end users, you know, and so that's a yes.
What do you think the detrimental effects on the society as a whole is going to be the more advanced the artificial intelligence becomes, as far as, you know, taking away jobs, human interaction with each other, the ability to conduct your everyday life without seeing another human? What do you think are going to be the downfalls of that?
I think that is going to be a challenge, because if you could create an AI to run, let's say, a supermarket, and so you don't need as many workers, which is where we're going right now anyway. I know I go to the supermarket, sometimes they only have like one person at the cashier and all automated things, okay? So if we're losing jobs, like you're saying, does the government say that since this store is now making so much money that they have to pay more taxes? You know, see, here's one of the challenges with AI. If you look at, let's say, United States culture, our culture is based on having workers for businesses. We've been doing that for years, having workers. So if you can create a technology that eliminates the workers, are we going to move toward a utopian society where now everybody can live free and have their expenses paid? This is not what has been in our nature, but you would think that that's what people would use AI for. I don't know if they're going to do that, because people want to get paid. And so I don't know what because there is a human component too. What motivation would people have to do anything if you just gave them everything? And so that might be the thought process, but I would think that we should be moving more towards trying to make things less expensive, make things easier, but I just don't know if we have the human programming for that. I think that, you know, there's a part of us that's human nature. We want to build something. We want to get paid for it. We want the accomplishment. And if we have an AI that is making things a lot more balanced, you know, maybe some people in the elite class may not really like that. I don't know.
One more.
Yes, sir.
What about cybersecurity? I mean, have you looked at can AI be hacked?
Oh, absolutely. Anything can be hacked.
Okay.
And the answer to that question is that I could come up with the best idea in the world, and I might miss one single thing. Just like in this presentation, you probably look at the presentation and go, he didn't say this. You know, I didn't bring up Turing's military connection. So there's always certain things that you're not going to catch or you miss. And also too, sometimes the people who are coming up with the security are the same ones that are telling somebody else how to break into it. So AI can be used for the cybersecurity. Developing an AI that is self-correcting is where I would focus. Like for me, when I think about, we are now communicating in outer space, we're talking about missions, you know, more missions to Mars, and we're talking about manned missions. So my thought in doing my dissertation is, can we have an AI to help facilitate information for human beings that are going to be on a mission where they can't interact with people? So can we have an AI that walks somebody through a surgery that they may have to have on that mission? Or can we have an AI that learns from them, that adjusts to information? I don't know if that's possible, but the study will be, is it feasible, or should we even consider it? You know, should we consider putting an AI, or should we just use standard state-of-the-art technology? But you know, I'll have to let the evidence guide me to that. I'm going to be looking at previous studies from NASA and things that they've used in the past with AI. I've done a study before on it was customer service using AI. And to answer your question earlier, this is what I meant to say, I lost track of earlier. But customers, in the study that I did, customers normally want to speak to a human person when there's a problem. If there's something easy, you know, and that they can interact, like, you know, where is the concert going to be? And the address pops up, that's fine. But let's say that they're having problems with the return or ticket. They don't want to use a chat bot. They don't want to use, you know, any other type of tool. They usually, overwhelmingly, want to speak to a human when there's a problem. Also, in answer to your question, sometimes people don't want to engage in AI with sensitive information. You know, it could be personal information, medical information, you know, and some people do, but I'm saying, like, sometimes people feel comfortable knowing that I'm giving this to a human and not who knows where this AI is taking this. You know, so like, so I would say that wherever possible, humans should be making the decisions and having some type of oversight over an AI.